Omnibus presents a tribute to Sir Laurence Olivier. In a special programme, friends and colleagues will be reminiscing and paying tribute to the greatest actor of this century, and the man who helped to shape British theatre over the last 50 years. Included in the programme will be a screening of Henry V, one of his most celebrated films. Sir Laurence Olivier, a tribute, tomorrow at 9:30 on BBC One.
In 10 minutes on BBC Two, Ireland's Opportunity is the last of 4 films on themes of the French Revolution, looking tonight at the attempted Irish Revolution of 1798. Here on One in Half an Hour, Spike Milligan makes a guest appearance with Warren Mitchell to join him in a tea dance fight scene. First, Frank Bruno with People.
It's people, your stories, ordinary people doing amazing things. Here's what we've got for you tonight. What makes a couple of old age pensioners rob a bank? We hear their story. Chris Sell joins the gig racers in Gale Force Winds. But first, a climax of Angie McKay's story. It's a big day at the TV studios.
Singer Angie McKay hopes today will change her life. She's out to win television talent show Opportunity Knox and become a star. She served a hard apprenticeship in the Welsh clubs, often changing in ladies' lavatories.
Facilities aren't always available. Sometimes you get nice dressing rooms.
As a single mum, success will ensure a better future for her daughter Jessica. And her parents are backing her all the way.
She is going to make it. She's on the ladder and there's one more rung to the top and it's going to be no problem. It's just one step.
Great, thanks. Wow, look at the size of this dressing room.
No, I've got to go now. I will see you later, okay?
Okay, thanks, Suzanne. Great.
Angie's never sung with more than organ, bass and drums. Now she'll rehearse with a 25-piece orchestra under the critical eye of Opportunity Knox producer Stuart Morris.
Can I have your attention, please? This is our next artist this morning, Angie McKay. OK, here we go then. You're My World.
This is the first time she'll have heard the special orchestral arrangement of her song.
2, 3, 4. Here we go. 2 and a 3 and a 4.
You're my world, you're every breath I take. You're my world, you're every... What an experience, Jenny. It was just mind-blowing.
What's the difference
Tremendous.
between them and being with your band? Or a band?
They know what they're doing. They played it fabulous, exactly how it should be played. The only thing is I'll miss them when I go home, back to the usual organ and drums. You're my world, you are my life and day. You're my world, you're every breath I pray. If our love ceases to be, then it's the end of my world, end of my world, end of my world for me.
I know in the clubs you need to conduct the orchestra, but if you're out, when you're out there tonight and you cut the orchestra off or you bring them in on each beat, it doesn't look good.
After band call, the show is rehearsed. But Angie has a problem which can be a real nightmare for a singer. She's developed an ear infection.
This is totally blocked off, so I'm just popping upstairs to see the BBC doctor.
Can you hear the band, though?
I can hear all right, but my sound is muffled inside my head. It's like when you're in an aeroplane.
Bob's lighting, please.
How do you deal with hecklers?
Thanks, Eric.
About 6 at a time, normally.
The competition is very tough. With just a few hours to the final recording, other contestants are already rehearsing in full costume and makeup. Angie's problem has put her way behind schedule.
Okay, that's where we would set the scoreboard. Have we got Angie back yet?
From Pembrey in Llanelli, South Wales, opportunity knocks for Angie McKay.
You see, look, she's fiddling with her ear now. It's obviously giving her trouble. If her hearing is seriously affected, of course, she'll have a problem singing in tune.
Has this ever happened before to her?
Nope. No, it's the first time. But it's a competition and she only gets one crack at it, so if we can help, we will.
So Britain.
Roughnecks returns to BBC One.
We want to know if you can get the job done.
We can, and we'll catch you up.
You're away for 2 weeks and then you come back. It's hard.
You should be used to it with Tom.
Tom's my dad. You're my husband.
There's 18 men on that rig.
Roughnecks. The new series begins tomorrow, 9:30 on BBC One.
A look at the weather forecast now on BBC One with John Ketley.
Hello again. A cloudy night in the south means a very mild night, but this wriggling system here across central parts of Britain is bringing some rain, and then to the north of that, clearer, colder weather once again. So most of the rain tonight will be across Wales and northern England, the odd patch of rain and drizzle filtering through the Midlands towards the Wash through the Lincolnshire area, and just a few showers left across the far north of Scotland. But the coldest weather tonight will be across the Glens, -1 degree, a widespread ground frost across Northern Ireland too. Now coming further south with that blanket of cloud and rain about, I think 9 to 11 is much more typical. That low pressure then beginning to move north again during Thursday, with rain pushing up the eastern side of Scotland through the afternoon. To start the day though, cloudy and overcast, grey and gloomy over much of England and Wales. Again, the wettest weather through Wales and parts of northern England. Much brighter across Scotland and the north of Ireland. Here a mixture of sunshine and showers, though many places will be dry. And then during the afternoon we'll find that thickening cloud and rain pushing up the eastern side of Scotland, perhaps as far as Aberdeen, before it goes dark. Now at the same time, somewhat brighter weather developing in the southeastern corner, maybe a hint of sunshine. Temperatures then up to 12 to 14 again, the average being 10 at this time of the year. That's where it's going to be across Scotland and Northern Ireland. A colder day perhaps on Friday across Scotland and Northern Ireland, some heavy wintry showers over there in the west, more persistent rain for England. That's it from me.
Are you all right, Tansy?
Even when you take care and switch an appliance off, its flex can still be a danger. Kettles and irons stay hot. Keep flexes out of children's reach.
That was the public information film. Well, a check on BBC One's timepiece, ticking steadily to 1 o'clock, which means we're about to fade into the night. Before we disappear, though, activities are non-stop on BBC Radio. Wendy Lloyd is between the decks on Radio 1, Steve Madden behind the mic on Radio 2, and Carol Malone on Radio 5 Live. But from us all here, including BBC One's director tonight, Claire Randall, this is Patrick Walker, hoping you'll join us at some point tomorrow, and wishing you a peaceful night. Good night.
change so quickly in the next few years. Computer-controlled robots are going to play a big part in that change. With people like you who are being brought up to use pocket calculators, electronic games, and microcomputers to be at the forefront of this revolution. And that's all today, and it's also the end of this series of Newsround Extra. Newsround will be back again on Monday. Have a good weekend. Bye for now. But now looking weekly ahead, tomorrow morning at 9:35, rescues a wounded owl in the wild. And at 9:05, their cousin comedy with Wet Hair Bareback. But now to round off this Friday afternoon, it's sort of different with
to all our unknown admirers.
Yes, thanks
a
very
bunch.
much.
There's one here, I really like this one. This is sort of a bit of an energy-saving idea, this is. It says, my heart is cold and blue, please be my central heater. I can think of only you, please be my Blue Peter.
That's right,
nice?
yes,
Like
thank you very much. Bye-bye.
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 Now on BBC One, to end today's programmes for children, another story about Ivor the engine.
Ivor the engine. There is his shed on the siding at Llanniog.
TVS invites you to a feast of Boxing Day family entertainment. Spin a celebrity Wheel of Fortune at 7 o'clock with Debbie Greenwood, Andrew O'Connor and Tessa Sanderson. And at 7:30 it's panto time for George and Mildred.
They've offered me a part.
Oh, yeah? What is it?
An ugly sister.
A surprising arrest.
Forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Come on. For the bill at 8 o'clock. The festive package of Boxing Day entertainment on TVS continues with Shelley at 8:30. The movie premiere at 9 is Ruthless People, and later at 11, Clint Eastwood, the outlaw Josie Wales. Boxing Day on TVS.
And on TVS in a few moments, the national and international news with ITN for this Boxing Day afternoon.
At our spectacular sale, you'll find exceptional bargains. One of our best-selling suites, half price. This suite with removable covers save £150. This delightful dining set is half price and save £200 on this attractive wall unit. And we guarantee you can't buy this silent night bed for less. There are hundreds of incredible savings throughout the store at the Queensway sale. Now on.
You can get it if you really want. You can get it if you really want. You can get it if you really...
With So Stylish, you can make the clothes you really want. Each fortnightly pack contains 6 great new designs, with 6 easy-to-follow pattern sheets and all the know-how you'll need. And for each design, step-by-step instructions, checklists and tips to make everything beautifully.
You succeed at last.
So Stylish, great fashions at your fingertips.
And here comes Hurst. He's got some people are on the pitch. They think it's all over. It is.
Yes. Why, it seems like only yesterday.
And Bobby Moore comes up to receive. The Jules Rimet Trophy.
And to think, I was there in the flesh.
The Jules Rimet Trophy. The Jules Rimet Trophy.
Once you've got it on Scotch, you've got it for life.
On your marks.
Wednesday, 27th December.
Get set.
8:30 a.m. Be there at the start. The Sale, Debenhams.
In the blue car, we put original Duracell. And in the red car, the new Duracell. A battery developed over 3 years to last even longer than before. The new Duracell now lasts up to 20% longer.
You can now rent your Hertz car in the British Airways Super Shuttle Departure Lounge. And when you arrive, you can walk straight to your car, leaving your rivals standing. It'll clear your path from A to B.
These Indesit appliances are just part of our massive winter sale. The question is, whose sale is it? Have you rumbled it? Indesit have.
Hi, I'm Jackie. You want a great time on your holiday? So do I. Day and night at Butlins, that's one place you'll have a great time. Feeling right, Butlins gives you great times. Day and night at Butlins, that's fun. Day and night at Butlins. Yes, day and night we're all going to have a great time together here at Butlins. Ring us now free on 0800 900 950 for a brochure. Come and join us.
Inspector Morse is back in a new series of deadly mysteries amid the dreaming spires of Oxford. Inspector Morse, soon on TBS.
Danny Smith is attempting to become the champion of the world in 15 minutes with the assistance of Robbie Coltrane and Jeremy Irons. This is TVS, now the national and international news from ITN in London.
The news from ITN.
Nicolae and Elena Ceausescu tried and executed by firing squad. The crowds celebrate as the deaths are announced. Factory workers get their first taste of democracy. And in sport, Desert Orchid equals the record with a win over his stablemate. Good evening. Romania's new Prime Minister, Petre Roman, says Nicolae Ceausescu and his wife Elena were executed because of fears that loyalists were planning a rescue attempt. The former president and his wife were shot last night after being convicted by a secret military court of genocide. Later, Ceausescu's body was shown on Romanian television. Also today, members of the new government have appeared on state television for the first time. President Ion Iliescu and Prime Minister Petre Roman were meeting the Yugoslavian ambassador, who promised to help the new regime. We have 3 reports from Bucharest. First, Paul Davis with exclusive pictures from behind the scenes at Romania's state television station.
Just 1 week ago, he was an all-powerful tyrant. Here, like a common criminal, Nicolae Ceausescu is unceremoniously bundled from an armored car, making his last journey before his execution. Romanian television showed these pictures early this morning, a short time after they announced that the deposed president had been shot dead by a firing squad. The 71-year-old former leader is seen undergoing a statutory medical test. This remarkable scene is said to have been filmed yesterday just before the president's trial. These pictures, the first hard proof that President Ceausescu was in fact a prisoner of the new regime. His 70-year-old wife, Elena Ceausescu, is also seen. She faced similar charges to her husband and is said to have met the same fate. The couple appeared remarkably relaxed, considering the fact they'd been jointly charged with genocide, the murder of 60,000 Romanians. The pictures of the president were broadcast from here, inside the television station that is also the headquarters of the country's new leadership. But the transmission immediately sparked an angry dispute within this building. The newscaster told viewers that the TV technicians wanted to show proof that the president had been executed, but were being stopped by senior bureaucrats within the TV center. Television Free Romania then played the country's new national anthem. On 15 separate occasions, viewers were told to stay tuned to see how the power struggle turned out. Behind the scenes, there were heated exchanges, the television staff protesting at the censorship from above. It's just like the bad old days, one said. In a small-scale reproduction of last week's revolution, the soldiers protecting the TV center became involved, backing those demanding that evidence of the president's death be shown to the world. This morning, the television station is once again under new management. The younger, more liberal-minded technicians are calling the shots. They say they will broadcast proof that the president is dead.
Platform. But sadly, those days are over, and now only 4 passenger trains come through here each day. What's more, they too may soon disappear, which is why I'm especially looking forward to what should be a memorable trip. And what about you, Goldie? You looking forward to it? I bet you are. Won't be long now. The extraordinary thing about this line is that it needn't have been built at all. When the railway age began in the 1820s, there were dozens of separate railway companies who divided up the country between them. Now, the main routes to Scotland were along the eastern and the western sides of England. But passengers travelling on the Midland Railway from Derby or Sheffield had to change onto another line to reach Scotland. The Midland was losing out to its competitors.
James Allport, the Midland's general manager, declared angrily, "We will build our own route to Scotland." So he took a map and drew a straight line on it from Settle to Carlisle.
And after Parliament had granted the Midland permission to build the railway, an agreement was reached with the rival London and North Western Company. It was only then that Allport and his chief engineer, John Crossley, actually came up here and walked the whole distance.
They were aghast at what they found. The line drawn on the map proved to be 72 miles long. It climbed 3 peaks of the Pennines, crossed steep valleys, countless streams, and vast stretches of barren, rocky moorland.
And if that wasn't bad enough, the weather here can be appalling. 180 centimetres of rainfall each year, and the wind blows fiercely. Allport and Crossley must have immediately thought that to build a railway here would be virtually impossible.
But by then it was too late for them to change their minds. The local communities, landowners and farmers were looking forward to the prosperity they knew the railway would bring. The building of this line was to call for courage, skill and determination. As today's diesels run up towards the highest point, you can see the challenge the 19th century workers met when the train reaches the Ribble Head Viaduct, one of the greatest features of this historic line. Surrounded by the 3 peaks, it's now desperately in need of repair. But you can see what a remarkable construction it is. 24 archers stride over the Ribble Valley, carrying the track 30 metres above the ground. 500,000 bricks were fired to build the tops of the arches. They rest on stone piers made of huge chunks of black limestone that were hewn from the quarries of nearby Littledale. Although it's taken a tremendous battering from the wind and the rain, it still stands, one of the greatest monuments of the Victorian industrial age and a tribute to those who laboured on it. 6,000 men came here to build the railway, the tunnels and the viaducts. They worked long hours, but the pay was good. One of the most dangerous feats was making Bleemore Tunnel. The men laboured by candlelight and used dynamite to clear its 1.5-mile length. Rough shanties were set up along the track to house the men who plodded home to them after work. Soon the huts grew into proper settlements. Some men had their wives and children with them and sat down to a hot meal at nights. But in the winter, when the snow piled up, the wooden shanties must have been very bleak. Soon the settlements had names like Batty Green, Jericho and Sebastopol. Batty Green had its own post office, school and mission house.
But many men died in accidents in the harsh conditions. They fell from viaducts or were killed in explosions. Women and children fell ill and didn't recover. Many of the families never left the district, but came to rest here in Chapel-le-Dale churchyard. The church registry keeps a record of their names and the names of the shanty towns where they lived. 40-year-old John Olorenshaw from Sebastopol and 3-year-old Louisa Annie Thompson from Jericho. In the church, there's a memorial tablet to the people who died building the Settle to Carlisle Railway. The line took 6.5 years to build and cost twice as much as planned. When it was finished, it boasted 17 viaducts, and as well as Ribblehead, there's Dent Head, an Arton gill made from local sandstone called black marble. And Dent Station, 300 metres above sea level, was the highest in England until it was closed. Norman Greenhow worked on this stretch of line for 47 years and remembers it at its peak. I don't know about you, Norman, I'm absolutely frozen. Is it always this cold up here?
Oh, yes. We reckon 9 months of winter and 3 months of summer, you know.
I think some of the winters have been pretty grim, haven't they? Do you remember any particular ones?
Well, 47 was the worst. For snow, when the North Eastern was blocked in 47, that is the Kirby, Stephen, Darlington, they talked of 40 feet on top of rails.
Norman remembers men armed with shovels digging out a whole train. But to unfreeze the locomotive itself, stronger methods were needed. When all else failed, the men set fire to the engine with the hot coals from its own boiler. Oil cans kept the flames alight, while the pistons and valves, rods and wheels slowly unfroze. So if there's a lot of snow on the track, you have to get the snowplow out, do you?
Yes.
And could you usually shift the snow all right, or did sometimes get packed too much?
Well, you can shift it if it's not very deep. You can cut 5 or 6 feet easy enough. But of course, when you're shifting it, you're shifting some to the other track, you see. This is one of the difficulties. You've got to be going back and forth all the time to keep it going. Aysgill Summit is not only the highest point on the line, it's the highest stretch of railway track in England. Well, the station at Settle is now 22 miles behind us, and it's been one long uphill pull all the way here. No wonder the Victorian train drivers referred to this stretch of the line as the long drag. At least from here to Carlisle, it's downhill all the way. The line around Aysgill has also been the scene of the 2 great tragedies to befall the Settle to Carlisle route. On Christmas Eve 1910, a tired signalman made a tragic error. The Scottish Express, thundering down the line under a full head of steam, went into the short Moorcock Tunnel. Just ahead were 2 other engines travelling in the same direction. One of the drivers glanced back in horror as the express whistle blasted. 5 people died. The poor signalman, realising what he'd done, said, "Go tell the station master, I have wrecked the Scotch Express." The only place where the trains stop these days on the way up to Carlisle is here at Appleby Station. This used to be the main halt on the line, where the big steam expresses like the Thames Clyde would take on fresh supplies of water after the long drag over the Pennines. In those days, there were 9 busy little stations between Appleby and Carlisle. But over the years, they've all been closed, and now the last 31 miles of the trip are an uninterrupted journey through more wonderful countryside. It's superb today, and in the glorious days of the Giants of Steam, it must have been even grander. Coming into Carlisle Station, which is still one of the most important in the whole of Britain's railway network system. trip from Settle took 1.5 hours, and I enjoyed every minute of it. It would be a great pity if this line closed, and future generations missed the chance to cross the great Ribblehead Viaduct or climb the Long Drag.
Hey, that's grand. Well, let's hope the British Rail do relent, because if they close that down, there'll only be 2 railway routes between England and Scotland, and the Settle to Carlisle has to be one of the most beautiful.
Toast. Atari Lynx has an option switch, so you can play at twice the speed. Atari Lynx, the portable video arcade.
How did I sell our house so quickly? A little secret. Just before the people came to look round, I brewed up some Dow Egbert's coffee. Lovely aroma. Made the place smell nice and homely. Sweet couple. Couldn't resist. Made an offer on the spot. So, thanks to Dow Egbert's, I got rid of the house. I wonder if it would work on him.
Dow Egbert's. Real coffee, real aroma.
If you were with the biggest building society in the world, you could now have a current account called Maxim. It could provide every service you need, from a checkbook to telephone banking and access to 4,000 cash machines. It could even pay you interest. And you could use it anywhere in Britain. But in the end, where could you go for a Maxim current account? Halifax, the building society you can bank on.
Our pursuit of the pure Holstein has led us to the port of Hamburg, where the sea dogs are salty, and so are the crisps.
Hallo Seemann. Ein Bier wie immer.
This is Helga, or rather its able seaman Karl Müller, on his day off. You see, nothing is what it seems in this town, except, of course, for the 4 natural ingredients that go into... Cheers, Carl.
Holstein Export, a pure beer in a wicked world.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
The Atari Lynx sound quality is so good, it makes every game seem more realistic. Atari Lynx, the portable video arcade.
What do you think then?
Very apple-y, refreshing, lively, sophisticated. Remind you of anyone we know.
It's apples, it's alcohol, it's pips.
When did you last have a dirty weekend?
All these questions and more will be answered in Capital City. But will they be resolved? Thursday at 9 on TBS. Still to come, 2 great new drama series. Next Saturday, Frederick Forsyth introduces some new specially commissioned thrillers.
The affair was low-key and obscure until someone shot the British governor.
Sam Jefferson found him, the butler.
The staff heard the shot, right?
I suppose you have the evidence that will stand up in a court of law?
Well, when it comes my way, and I'm sure it will. I'm a very old-fashioned policeman.
planned on TVS the following week.
One way or another, we're going to be tied to each other for the rest of our lives.
A daring bank robbery forces Charlie to come home and face them.
We could really bust out of this town with enough dough to make the biggest splash you could ever dream of.
You're all mad! How the hell did you think you'd get away with it? 2 to view on TVS, starting with Frederick Forsyth Presents next Saturday at 7:55.
Next tonight, The Executioner.
This is the new Bosch Multisander. With its eccentric rotary action, it will sand even the most uneven of surfaces. And its easy-to-change discs will ensure a ship-shape finish every time. The Bosch Multisander cuts most jobs down to size.
We all do everything humanly possible to avoid accidents. But some are simply unavoidable. Which is why Audi gives you the unique Procon 10 safety system that helps keep your head and steering wheel apart. And could save your life. Vorsprung durch Technik. As people can't avoid saying.
If Clerical Medical do investments, why the funny name? Well, they were set up in 1824 to look after the professional people of the day, like clerics and medics. Mind you, if in 1824 there had been professional photographers, professional commodity dealers, North Sea divers, computer programmers, DJs, no doubt Clerical Medical would have looked after their needs too, just as they do today. Clerical Medical, the choice of the professional.
If you register for a prospectus in the 12 regional electricity company share offers, you could qualify for money off your bill.
You haven't done that yet, have you, Frank? I swear you'd forget your head if it wasn't screwed on.
Closing date to register for incentives is Wednesday, November the 14th.
Frontrunner Video presents Car Wars 4. Thrills and spills, crashes and smashes, incidents and accidents, all from top professional motorsport. Plus, races of a distant dream, a race through 9,000 miles of hostile terrain. Motor Rock Mania, a mental medley of motorcycle mayhem. The history of the Indianapolis 500, the greatest spectacle in racing. Monster Mania, crazy monster truck action from the USA. Also, endurance and rally action too. All the action on Frontrunner, out now.
The new Sony Discman is a lot less trouble than some modern technology. And even without the headphones, all is by no means lost. Because the Sony Discman plugs in pretty well anywhere. Your car stereo, your home stereo, in fact, any hi-fi system. Sony, why compromise?
Nights in white satin, never reaching the end.
Nights in White Satin. A new perfume from Yardley that's more than a little romantic. Nights in White Satin. Your dream goes on.
I love the way they walk. I love all the different shapes, the way they move. I can only handle about one day a year at the beach.
Oh, sure. Oh, you think I'm going to leave you in here? Well, maybe just for a while.
No, not there. No.
I don't. I'm not good at this. I've done this a lot. I'm not good here.
Burt Reynolds is the man who loved women. Next Saturday at 10:10.
What's she doing here?
Oh, is it safe to look yet? They're gone. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm glad I'm here at Late Night Late tonight. There's no way I'll be able to sleep after watching Aliens.
What a film. What a film. Great, very enjoyable, but very frightening all the same. Welcome along to Late Night Late for a Saturday night, Sunday morning. Actually, on the subject of films, for our look at the very latest films made and released in America, make sure you're watching Cinema Attractions later on tonight at around about 2:30 for the very latest news on up-and-coming movies being released over here, probably in the next 3 months or thereabouts. But being a Saturday night, we begin with a Super Spies movie, and tonight a film from 1970. George Peppard and Joan Collins star in The Executioner.
Gold, that precious touch.
Everyone knows concentrated powders mean less chemicals, less packaging, and less waste. But do they mean less cleaning power too? Not at all. New Radion Micro. A concentrated powder with unbeatable performance. With around half the powder, Radion Micro gets your clothes really clean because it removes tough stains and odors, even the microscopic traces of stale odor that other concentrated powders miss. The result?
Looks clean, smells clean, and a lot less powder too.
New Radion Micro, unbeatable at removing dirt and odors.
If you thought Bordeaux produced some of the finest red wines in the world, you were only half right.
I've got a beautiful feeling, everything's going.
In this beautiful world of ours, it's comforting to know that all new Polos come with a catalytic converter which reduces toxic exhaust fumes by up to 90%. The new Volkswagen Polo. Cars don't come any cleaner.
It's a Mega Bass! Mega Bass 2, back with the biggest beats about. Mega Bass 2, straight from the dance floor, the hottest rave of the decade. Everybody keep the floor burning with Mega Bass 2. Out now.
There's £1 off the exotic fruit pavlova at Iceland now. That's why Mum's gone to Iceland.
Tonight at 10:40, Sinead O'Connor continues this week's series of updated information on HIV and AIDS. And that's after the news now from ITN with Sandy Gall and Julia Somerville.
The UN prepares to tell Iraq, leave Kuwait or we'll force you out. Army commanders believe there could be thousands of British casualties. Mr. Major promises no standing on Europe's sidelines. A new woman Treasury Minister, but should there be others. And the Berlin airlift goes into reverse to feed the Russians. Good evening. The United Nations is voting tonight to approve the use of force to drive Iraq out of Kuwait. The Security Council in New York is virtually certain to back the United States resolution, which calls for Iraq to withdraw by the middle of January. It'll be only the second time the UN has sanctioned using force. The last time was during the Korean War. In the Gulf, the commander of Britain's Desert Rats said people at home must realize that there could be a lot of casualties if war breaks out. Officers fear up to 2,000 British troops could be killed or injured. The Foreign Secretary, Mr. Hurd, who's in New York, said it is right that people should be warned.
America has spared no effort in seeking an overwhelming vote of support on the UN Security Council for the threat of military action. Secretary of State Baker has traveled the world to reassure his friends and to persuade the waverers that the threat must be made and made clearly.
If Iraq does not reverse its course peacefully, then other necessary measures, including the use of force, should be authorized.
Concessions were made to get this far. Soviet demands for a later deadline of January the 15th were met. China was invited to Washington for the first time since Tiananmen Square. And the Cubans got the first ministerial meeting in 30 years. There will almost certainly still be opposition, but America appears to have minimized it. Iraq remains adamant the UN is embarked upon a hazardous course.
Consider this, certainly it's the very most dangerous resolution ever passed by the Security Council. I believe it is in violation of the Charter, and I believe it's going to complicate rather than to facilitate the solution of the crisis.
But Kuwait told the Security Council Iraq had brought the threat of war upon itself.
The intransigence of the Iraqi regime is the real reason that is pushing the region at this point to a conflagration that we do not want to see, but it's being imposed upon us.
I asked Douglas Hurd if he shared the views of the 7th Armoured Division's commanding officer that British opinion was unprepared for a bloody war.
I sympathise with what he said. I think it is very important that people in Britain should understand what is at stake. Opinion in Britain has been very solid. Opinion among the leaderships of all three main parties has been very solid. That is quite right. People should understand what is at stake, which is really the prospects for a safe world without aggression for ourselves and those who come after us.
If approved, the resolution will give Saddam Hussein 47 days to leave Kuwait or face the consequences. Alistair Stewart, News at 10, New York.
Troops in the Gulf have been put on yellow alert, ready for an Iraqi airstrike. That's one below full-scale war. British commanders in Saudi Arabia say Iraqi troop movements have been detected in Kuwait.
Another UN resolution condemning Iraq, another step towards war, possibly the biggest yet. Britain's 7th Armoured Brigade is preparing for it, preparing for the possibility of hundreds of British soldiers being killed and thousands injured. Battlefield ambulance crews struggle to shorten their reaction times, hampered by the enforced wearing of suits that protect against chemical attack. Everyone here expects Saddam Hussein to use nerve gas if war starts. And today, the brigade commander was at pains to stress how deadly a war against the Iraqi leader might be.
I'm quite certain that certainly he will use everything in his infantry, and therefore it's going to be a remarkable war. And we, in turn, I'm quite certain, will reply with everything that we've got. And it's going to be warfare that possibly people have never realized or could have expected.
I think that there is a level of misunderstanding about the nature of the war that we could possibly fight. And I think it's very important that people in England or in Britain are made aware that there will definitely be casualties should this come to a fight.
If war does start, it's expected to begin with a massive air attack on vital Iraqi installations. The hope is that that attack will be so damaging it'll persuade Iraq to leave Kuwait. But if that tactic fails, then the full ferocity of a land battle seems unavoidable. By January, there'll be 30,000 British military here, maybe 500,000 Americans. 12,000 tons of ammunition has already arrived for the British guns alone. The colossal firepower that the Allies will have lined up against Saddam Hussein next year is intended to make the war, if it comes, as short as possible. Geoffrey Archer, News at 10, Saudi Arabia.
National health hospitals in southern England have been on alert since the middle of this month to receive casualties from the Gulf. Tonight, that alert sounds more than just a precaution. But as Neil Kinnock again made clear today at a meeting of the North Atlantic Assembly, there's cross-party support for war if approved by the United Nations.
And even Saddam Hussein, in his cocoon of tyranny, must understand the implications of that resolution. If that, and the accumulated weight of other UN action, does not make him comply with international law, he knows that the consequences could be lethal.
One wing of his party opposes that line.
We now have a few weeks to bring about a dialogue. And if we do not do so, one of the most catastrophic and disastrous wars that we have seen, certainly since 1945, could be unleashed on the Middle East that would affect us all.
But at the moment, public opinion seems ready for war if necessary. The last poll on the Gulf crisis, taken a fortnight ago, showed 62% in favour of British and American military intervention, 27% against, and 11% who didn't know. And at Westminster tonight, there remains all-party support for the UN stand.
Nobody wants war. We want to get rid of Hussein from Kuwait as quickly as possible. But as President Assad of Syria said to the group of us who met him earlier this week, if you don't stop Hussein now, the world will become a jungle full of beasts. And there'll be beasts armed to the teeth with even stronger weapons than they have at the present moment.
It's a risk we absolutely have to be prepared to take. There has been aggression here. There must be deterrence for the future. Saddam Hussein must withdraw. The more, ironically, we are ready to go to war and seen to be ready to go to war, the less that war is likely.
So despite the alarming forecasts from Saudi Arabia, the political response is that the prospect of war must be faced.
President Saddam said the United States was wrong to think Iraq would give in to pressure from the UN. He said if America's Rambo attitude did lead to war, Iraq wasn't afraid to fight and had the technology to overcome the most modern American weapons. This report from Jeremy Thompson was censored by the Iraqi authorities.
Without even hearing how the Security Council had voted, Saddam Hussein rejected any resolution calling for the use of force against Iraq. He dismissed the United Nations as no more than an arm of the United States government, saying America's Rambo style doesn't work here in Iraq. His audience of student leaders responded in expected fashion to the president's boast that the United Nations could never make Iraq tremble. So far, it has certainly attracted a flow of foreign envoys like Britain's Tony Benn, and it may have helped to delay military attack. But some ministers here believe the hostage strategy may have outlived its usefulness. The threat of war is certainly being taken more seriously. More conscripts are expected to be called up as Iraq hastens the mobilization of its forces. While Saddam Hussein struggles to get himself off the hook, tension is mounting as this nation of 17 million people steels itself for military conflict. What Iraq fears most is that the United States will jump the gun. Privately, government sources here believe that with United Nations backing, America may now try to manufacture an incident that would justify attacking Iraq. Jeremy Thompson, News at 10, Baghdad.
Here,
Why the young man in it?
When Parker first made the duofold, they made it as you'd expect, in the good, old-fashioned way. Today, with the very latest technology to call on, Parker have improved the pen beyond recognition. Yet it remains as elegant in design as it always was. If only everything could evolve that way.
Bonjour. Bonjour. Je pourrais avoir un casse-croûte au jambon, s'il vous plaît? Ouais. Ça fait 10 francs. Ouais. Je comprends.
is a cigar called Hamlet, the mild cigar.
6 assorted tarts. An organic pomegranate. Chocolate teddy. Tea strainer. Nuts. Sausages. Something else. Something else. Got the nuts, got the chocolate teddy. Book of stamps.
You can now buy books of stamps at thousands of different places. Stick one on your shopping list.
Didn't she do well?
From tractors to racing cars, Rowan Atkinson is obsessed by locomotion. Discover why he is the driven man next Saturday at 10:10 on TVS.
Hi, I'm Laura.
Take a closer look at TVS television, making watching worthwhile throughout Britain, with the many programs we make here in the South for the ITV network. Take a closer look at the drama and entertainment TVS makes watching worthwhile with internationally renowned series and award-winning films. Take a closer look at family viewing. TVS makes watching worthwhile with the traditional blend of high-speed action, exciting adventure, and original comedy. Take a closer look at the world around us. TVS makes watching worthwhile with fascinating features from the human to the historic, from the criminal to the critical. Take a closer look at your children's favorites. TVS makes watching worthwhile as ITV's premier producer of the shows they love most. Take a closer look at the many programs TVS makes for the ITV network, and you'll see why TVS television really is making watching worthwhile for you.
Stay with us for the latest national and international news from ITN.
You're gonna curl their hair.
You're gonna make them stare.
Nobody can compare.
No one would even dare.
You're coming round the bend.
You've got a message to send.
You're gonna curl your hair.
You're gonna make them stare.
Heat them, twist them, curl your hair, make them stare. Benders, only from Clairol.
Bigger isn't better, taller isn't braver, larger isn't always wise. Smaller isn't necessarily the lesser, guts can come in any size. Lady luck and favor, just a little shaver over one who's 6'3". Brains in any tussle, mops the floor with muscle, bet your life I'm glad I'm me. Smallish Yankee Doodle, if it's in the moodle, beat the whole caboodle, using just his noodle. Bet your life I'm glad I'm
that racket?
It's automatic loading.
Oh, someone was putting the Hoover around. Olympus Super Zoom? No. Voila, the real thing. That, my sons, all gimmickry and mimicry. Hold on, here's Lionel. Lionel, love. Twinkle toes. Lovely. Just a thing, see? Zoom lens.
Wouldn't be without one.
Very flash. Not like that.
It's the most advanced flash around. Helps get rid of red eye.
Ooh, proper little black magic box. Take the film down to Boots for you as well, does it? Hold up, here they are. Leach, my lord. Lord Lichfield, my lad, this way. That's not for us top boys. Your Don McCullums, Donovan, Snowden.
David Bailey.
Photographers, mate. Not ballet dancers. Just one more, your worship.
The Olympus Super Zoom.
From what's on the box
to the latest news. The ultimate newspaper, brought to you by Oracle.
So you hate the bank? You hate all the guys in the place? Well, I hope she's worth it, my boy.
You keep being...
Mike Donkin, BBC News in northern Romania.
May your Christmas be peaceful. Good night.
Hello to you. Don't be surprised tonight if Santa turns up in a lifeboat and a sou'wester. It's been that sort of weather. Very heavy rain, and on the rainfall radar over the last few hours we can see some of the heavy rain that's been falling down in the south and southwest. And over the next hour or so that heavier rain will be pushing into the rest of East Anglia and the southeast. Squally showers following behind, and those squally showers affecting many of these western coasts and up through northern parts of Scotland as well. The rain perhaps never clearing out of the southeast, some central and eastern areas becoming dry and clear. The lowest temperature tonight around about 5 degrees Celsius, 41 Fahrenheit, and the stronger winds transferring through Northern Ireland into western Scotland. And that's confirmed by tomorrow's weather chart with tight isobars up here to the northwest, so becoming quite stormy in places, and lots of these squally showers affecting many of these western hills and coasts and up through much of Scotland as well. The best weather likely to be in central and eastern areas, some brightness, some sunshine, and rain likely in some parts of the southeast, both early and late. The temperatures tomorrow, 8 in the north, 10 in the south, that's about 50, and turning out to be rather stormy in western parts of Scotland. On to Boxing Day, somewhat of an improvement down here to the southwest, still likely to be some rain in the southeast. Things over Northern Ireland and Scotland still a little bit on the wild side. From the weathermen, a Merry Christmas.
A sparkling evening's entertainment for Christmas Day with the television premiere of the blockbuster movie Crocodile Dundee.
Up north in the Never Never, where the land is harsh and bare, there's a mighty hunter named Mick Dundee. Who can dance like Fred Astaire.
I'm not here just on holiday, you know. Oh, no. On business. Unfinished business.
At 7:50, it's Murder in Paradise for Miss Marple.
His death was very sudden, you know. No warning at all. I was with him a lot. Not a hint.
At 9:40...
Christmas, they can keep it. Nothing to do, nowhere to go, nothing to watch on the telly. Well, nothing I want to watch, I mean, it's repeats, innit? Seen that, don't want to see that, that's rubbish. Oh, to get a rebate on my licence.
10:20 clockwise, and no ordinary day for Brian Stimpson.
Put money in the box, caller. I put my money in the box. It's eaten the money. I haven't got any more money.
With the classic Key Largo at 12 o'clock, that's Christmas Day on BBC One.
Now, the case of a missing painting is only the beginning of Robert Redford's problems as he joins forces with Deborah Winger and Daryl Hannah in the British television premiere of the comedy thriller Legal Eagles.